Welcome to Lively Lewis Stories.
Buckle up, because you're about to join Levi and Ivy on an adventure.
All you need is your imagination, and off we
go! Lively Lewis Stories!
Ivy hurried to finish her afternoon snack and ran to get her bag for ballet class. Slow down, sweetie, her mom called after her, but nothing could slow Ivy down. All the way to the studio, Ivy talked about how excited she was for her big performance. It was only 2 weeks away. It sounds like you're going to need extra practice between now and then, her mom said. Oh, I already know my part, Ivy assured her mother. Miss Taylor says we need to practice 1 hour every day, but I don't need to. I guess I'm a natural. Her mother started to say something as they pulled into the parking space at the studio, but Ivy was already unbuckling her seatbelt in a rush to get to class. Once inside, Ivy's mom joined the other parents in a room behind a glass window where they could watch the children practice. Ivy put her bag against the wall and joined her friend Mia at the bar. Hi, Ivy, Mia said. Did you practice the new combination Miss Taylor taught us last week? It's super hard. Ivy nodded. Yeah, I practiced a little. It's easy. Within moments, Miss Taylor led the girls through a series of stretches, reminding them to always warm up before they danced. Ivy followed along, but she didn't like spending so much time warming up. She wanted to do all the fun moves without doing the stretches. Finally, it was time to practice their parts for the performance. Mia went first and did a great job pirouetting across the room. You could tell she had put in a lot of work. The other girls also demonstrated their parts as Miss Taylor helped them with their technique. When it was Ivy's turn, she began her routine. However, she missed one of the steps leading to her jump, which caused her to stumble forward. Miss Taylor ran to see if she was okay. Ivy felt embarrassed, but said, Don't worry, Miss Taylor, I know my part. Her teacher smiled encouragingly. You just need a little more practice and you'll have it down in no time. Ivy heard her teacher's words, but didn't think she needed more practice at all. She just made a silly mistake and it wouldn't happen again. However, as the class went on, Ivy made more and more mistakes, which caused her to feel frustrated and out of sorts. Miss Taylor, may I go get a drink of water? Ivy asked, wanting to take a break. Of course, Miss Taylor answered. You can fill up your water bottle down the hall. Ivy grabbed her empty water bottle and walked down the long hallway. She thought about all the mistakes she'd made, but still, she stubbornly believed she didn't need to practice as much as the others. In fact, she secretly wished she could rise through the levels without any effort at all. After filling her water bottle at the fountain, she took her time walking back to the class, daydreaming about being the best ballerina in the world. She pictured herself on a big stage with bright lights and a fancy costume. One day, she would be famous. Suddenly, the lights flickered and a burst of bright lights surrounded her. She shielded her eyes, wondering what was going on. When she opened them, she saw something she could hardly believe. There before her very eyes was a floating wand. It was a magic wand. Dazzling and sparkly, the wand was encircled in a rainbow-colored dust that swirled around and glistened in the light. At first, Ivy was too mesmerized to touch it, but then she carefully reached out and took hold of it. Oh! Ivy exclaimed, It's beautiful! Ivy held the magic wand with awe and wonder, and at once the rainbow sparkles surrounded her like a whirlwind of pixie dust. This wand is just what I need, she said aloud. And with that, Ivy waved it high in the air and said, I wish with all my heart to be the best ballerina ever, and without having to do the work. At once, a loud swoosh of air, along with twinkling sounds, swept over Ivy and picked her up off her feet. When she landed gently on the ground, she knew her wish had come true. Back in the studio, Ivy quickly hid the magic wand in her bag and ran to join her class. Her feet felt light underneath her, and as she danced, leaped, and pirouetted her way through the rest of the practice. Oh, my, Ivy, Miss Taylor remarked. That drink of water was just what you needed, wasn't it? Ivy smiled and said, It sure was, Miss Taylor. It sure was. Over the next 2 weeks, Ivy didn't practice at all. She didn't need to. Every evening, she showed up to ballet class with her magic wand hidden in her bag. One day, she listened quietly as her friends talked about how much extra practice they'd done to get ready for the performance. One girl named Charlotte said, My feet are so sore, but I know if I keep going, I'll get stronger and stronger. Another friend named Emma replied, My aunt took me to the city ballet. It inspired me to work even harder at home. On and on their stories went, each of them describing the hard work it took to be a skilled ballerina. Miss Taylor enjoyed hearing them talk about the journey to the top, and she applauded them for their dedication. Then, turning to Ivy, Miss Taylor asked, "What have you learned about working hard to become a better dancer, Ivy?" Ivy thought about it for a moment. She didn't have a story. All she had was a pretty wand and some magic. "Oh, I don't need to work as hard as the others," she finally answered. "I guess I'm a natural." Her teacher bent down and spoke with both wisdom and kindness. She said, "It's nice when things come easy to us, isn't it? But true success comes from hard work. Please keep that in mind, Ivy. After all, I truly want to see you succeed." However, Ivy didn't want to think about hard work. As long as she had her magic wand, she would always be at the top of her class, and that's what she cared about the most. Finally, it was the day of the performance. Ivy put on her new tutu and twirled in front of a mirror. "Don't make yourself dizzy," her brother Levi said. He was 6 and always teasing her. "I don't get dizzy," Ivy retorted. "I'm a professional ballerina." Okay, Levi said, rolling his eyes and walking away. When they arrived at the venue, Ivy ran backstage where Miss Taylor was lining everyone up to do their stretches. Ivy participated half-heartedly, wanting time to pass quickly so she could go on stage and perform. "I'm so nervous," Mia whispered. "I hope I can make my jump." "I'm not nervous at all," Ivy replied confidently. Just as they finished warming up, the girls heard the music begin to play. The lights were brought low and a quiet hush fell over the audience. "Places, everyone," Miss Taylor called. The girls lined up just as they'd practiced, and when Miss Taylor gave the signal, they went out single file onto the stage. The first half of the performance went great. Ivy and her friends displayed all the basic steps they'd learned. But when it was time for the more advanced routines, things did not go as planned. Just as Ivy began to dance, she realized she'd forgotten the magic wand at home. "Surely the magic is still with me," she thought, trying to remember the next part of her routine. However, it didn't take long for her to realize that the magic had left her and she wasn't at all prepared for her performance. She did the best she could, but without having practice, she missed an important step and fell down right in the middle of the stage. "Oh, Ivy!" Emma exclaimed, running to help her. Ivy's face was red with embarrassment. She walked off the stage and ran to the dressing room in tears. Miss Taylor hurried to comfort her. "It's okay, Ivy," her teacher soothed. But Ivy shook her head. "I didn't want to practice. I just wanted to be the best ballerina without having to do the work." Miss Taylor pulled her close. "I understand, my dear. I truly do. But it's the lessons learned through hard work that make you who you are. Does that make sense?" Ivy wiped at her tears and nodded. "Yes, Miss Taylor, it makes sense now. And I'm going to work extra hard from now on." Together, they walked to the reception area where Ivy's mom, dad, and brother were waiting. Ivy thought for sure her brother was going to tease her for falling on stage. However, Levi just handed her a glass of punch and said, "One day, Ivy, you will be the best ballerina ever." Did you learn a lesson from this story?
If so, what was it?
And parents, do your kids have a story idea?
Leave a comment on our Apple Podcast review page with 5 stars, the idea, and your kid's name for a chance to join Levi and Ivy on their next adventure. Until next time.
Thanks for listening. Come back for more.